is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something just a little different for you guys. So I've had this car for about 3 or 4 months now. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about the 5 things that I hate, dislike about my ATS. Alright, so number 1. We talked about this in the review some, but a little bit more happened, and just as I've experienced more of the system in general, the Q system isn't very good. Coming from a car that had all analog stuff, it is very fun to have, and I really do enjoy having a touchscreen and everything, but it could be a lot better, and its competitors, I think, definitely do have the better setup. As I talked about in the review, the screen is sometimes very, very slow. And like I said, also, the one I had in this car personally, the screen had a couple dead spots in it, and then within 2 weeks of buying the car, the entire screen just quit working. Like, it wouldn't pick up anything at all. It would flip through the menus, but none of the touch receptors worked. They were totally shot. And this car was at about 46,000 miles at the time, so that's just something to be aware of. I don't know if it's maybe because of how the previous owners treated it, or if it's just an issue that will wear out around this mileage. So that's just something to be aware of for you guys when if you're ever looking to buy one of these cars. And then the rest of the system, I understand why they made the volume and the vents and climate controls like they did. Or at least in my mind, it makes sense to do it the way they did, because it cuts out on blank buttons, which I think is very good to avoid the very, unappealing look of blank switches across your dashboard. But I feel like they're slightly impractical, and they could be much more efficient. Wheels and knobs can be made to look very sleek, very stylish, and can easily replace all of the inputs for temperature and volume and everything. Now, a lot of people do think that the volume slider is gimmicky, and while I can agree with that to some extent, I do enjoy the volume slider a lot. I think it's really cool, and I wish they maybe had done the same with the temperature sliders too. If they'd made the temperatures and the fan speed sliders, I think that would have done a better job at replacing knobs. Number 2, space in this car is awful. The glove box is minuscule, especially with the CD player inside of it. The center console is ridiculously small, only about 5-6 inches deep, and maybe not even a foot long. And inside the cabin, that's really all you've got. Yes, you have the cubby hole, but if you wanted to stick things in there, you could. And in better models, I know that that's a wireless charger, but for iPhone users in general, you can't plug in anything bigger than an iPhone 6 and lay it flat. I have an iPhone 6, so you have to stick it like catty cornered in there across, and it has to stand on its side. You can't lay it down, and even then the wire's still bent over on itself. So if you try to charge your phone in there, odds are you're gonna mess up your chargers. You're gonna break your wires. There's another little cubby hole down at the bottom, but I mean, it's good for storing a few things. You can store your circular plug adapter in there, and some chain, which I usually do. And then the doors, there's one pocket at the bottom, and that's it. They're lined with suede, which is kind of cool, I guess, but the back seats are the same way, just they're a little bit bigger in the back, a little deeper, not longer. And the flip down cup holders in the back seat are the only ones that are functional in the entire car. If you put anything in the cup holders in the front, first of all, you can't fit 2 drinks in these cup holders. They have to be bottles. You can't fit 2 cups, it's impossible. And the trunk space, it's redeemable, but it's not great. It is rather small. I barely fit a carry tote full of clothes and my backpack moving my thing from college. There's definitely a lot to be desired in space. Number 3, the backup camera, while it is helpful because you have the bars that swing as you spin the wheel to show you like your projected path, it's not a good camera. It's placed very poorly. You're looking almost directly at the ground. In fact, you can see the bumper in the shot, and then you can only see a few feet behind you, maybe a car length at most, in a good spot. Really, the best I can see, it does help for backing into spots, but backing out of spots, it's almost worthless because of how skinny its field of view is. If you're ever backing out of very close, especially very close straight spots, like I often do at the parking lot of my dorms, you really can't see anything behind you at all. When there are vehicles on either side of you that are consistently much taller, I feel like the backup camera should definitely be a more worked on feature of the vehicle. Number 4, some of the computers in this car are very odd. I don't know if, again, maybe that's just mine and some of the lights not always working consistently, but one odd thing it does a lot is when you're driving hard at 50-60 miles an hour with traction control off, sometimes the car likes to re-engage your basic traction control function if it feels that you're going to start slipping. It's done this to me before, even when I didn't feel like I was going to lose control, which I found very strange that a car that's claimed to be your performance-based vehicle, at least your introduction level performance vehicle, doesn't allow you to drive with assists deactivated and go hard. Some other odd things it's done to me in the past is when I put it into certain drive modes, which this car has Sport and Ice, sometimes it disables the drive mode when I turn off the vehicle. And I say that only because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the little green Sport icon is gone, sometimes it's still there. If it did one or the other consistently, I would understand. If it kept it in Sport mode until I disengaged it, or if it's always disengaged Sport mode, I would understand that. But it does bother me sometimes that I feel like the computer, it looks like the computer doesn't always know what's going on. The 5th and final item on this list, which the others are just nitpicky things, this is genuinely something I honestly hate about the car, even though I knew it was going to happen going into buying it. This car sounds awful. The engine in an idle leaves so much to be desired. And yes, it's a 4-cylinder, I knew that going in, but it sounds awful. Hard accelerations just sound grungy, you know, it doesn't sound great. The exhaust note, well, there isn't one. The pipes in an idle do have a very attractive low rumble, but around the front end in idle, it's not an attractive sound. And one might think, well, the turbo sound could redeem that, but you can't ever hear the stock turbo in this vehicle. If you have the windows up, the radio off, and like no wind outside, and you're not hammering the gas, you might hear the turbo start to spool. But anyway, guys, that is the 5 things I dislike / hate about the car. I hope you find it entertaining, but also somewhat informative. It's a little different from our normal content, I know. If you have any questions, leave us a comment below. And be sure to check out our review on my car as well for just a few general overview and ideas. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're new and you like what you've seen, check out some other videos. Leave us a subscribe. And that's about it for this video, so we will catch you guys next time.